I'm not sure how much more you've got to say on the contracts of Trent, Virgil and Salah. Probably not a lot. But I suppose it's been the one shadow, if that's the right word, over your early days. I know it's sort of beyond your control a little bit. But all I was going to ask you is, like, as a Liverpool fan, it would worry me. It would make me anxious having this carrying on. Do you understand that anxiety from people who maybe don't know the full picture?
Maybe even if you know the full picture, I can understand that Liverpool fans feel this anxiety because all three of them have been really important for us for years and still this year. On the other hand, I would focus on what I see, that these players still bring up the best possible performances. So maybe we are in a good place. We would have been in a far worse place if they had the same contract situation and we're not playing good anymore. Then everybody would say it's all about the contract situation. But at this moment, I'm very, very happy with what they are doing, and that's my main concern, more than the long-term concern about next year.
Lovely interview there from Patrick Davison with Arne Slot. Let's start with the situation that he does talk about a little bit there at the end, Trent Alexander-Arnold in particular, because his story and his future is kind of gaining a bit of traction in the Spanish press, isn't it? So do you expect him to stay at Liverpool or do you expect him to go? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I think we have to wait and see. But what we do know is that Marca, very good Spanish sports paper, who are quite close to Real Madrid, have started writing quite a lot of stories about Trent Alexander-Arnold. And a few days ago, he was on the front page of Marca, this story, which I think, I don't have a Spanish GCSE, but I think it says he's not going to extend his contract at Liverpool. So it's interesting that Marca have started writing about him so much. Also, people who are into conspiracy theories will say he's very good friends with Jude Bellingham. They're best buddies. Jude Bellingham would love to have him at Real Madrid. It'd be very difficult for a player to say no to Real Madrid. But I would just be a little bit worried if I was a Liverpool supporter about the fact that Marca are writing so much about Trent Alexander-Arnold, because we've seen them use this playbook before lots of times with lots of other players. Absolutely. And basically, at the end of the day, if Real Madrid want a player, sooner than rather later, they get him. I don't know for a fact that they want Alexander-Arnold, but I just find it very interesting that Marca are sort of beating the Trent drum quite so loudly these days.
I mean, the world is his oyster, right? Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, he's such a great player and he's doing brilliantly at the moment as well. What do you think?
Yeah, he's an exceptional footballer who's got his head screwed on. He's better than people make out defensively, and he's exceptional going forward as well. He's a superb dead ball specialist. He is a wonderful team player.
Couldn't get in the England side.
I know, but that's more of a failing of England than Trent Alexander-Arnold, let me tell you, because I think when you see him, if he were to play, whenever he plays for Liverpool, we see how good he is.
Yeah.
If he's in an attack-minded side with the glitterati of Real Madrid, he'll probably go to another level. There's an argument for saying he's done all there is to do at Liverpool, and I think Liverpool fans are fairly realistic and wise to the fact that it is a real crossroads for him. You did say something that struck me earlier. The big clubs get their business done behind closed doors. So this is not going to be played out in the public domain from either side. He's just going to focus on his football. At the moment, he's part of a defence which is the best in the Premier League so far. And they're all playing superbly well. So I don't think, well, clearly it is not affecting him. But it is a big decision for him to make. Does he continue with a new voice in that Anfield dressing room, or does he take the chance, run his contract down and go to a club where he's surrounded by stellar names and big ambitions? Given that he's won the Champions League already and the Premier League, first Premier League in 30 years with Liverpool, I wonder if he'd be tempted.
I wonder if all three, Mo, Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Trent, we're all thinking, let's see how Arne Slot gets on. I mean, he's had a great start. So for all three of them, perhaps that might be in their thinking, actually, I'm going to hang about here because there's lots to be achieved still.
I think that may come into it. I think we have to wait and see how the season develops for Liverpool. I think Arne Slot himself has said that the fixtures they've had so far haven't been that difficult. But he's had a brilliant start. But he's got a big test against Chelsea today, because I think Chelsea have been exceptional under Enzo Maresca this season as well.
It's a good matchup.
So I don't think it's quite at the level of the sort of Liverpool-Chelsea games we had in the sort of glory days of Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez, but this could be a sort of new rivalry that's developing right at the top of English football between Slot and Maresca.
We're seeing him on the screen. Let's focus on him then. It's the first Liverpool manager to win 9 of his first 10 matches in charge of all competitions. Just how impressed have you been with Arne Slot? I know, as Calvo makes a really good point, that actually they haven't quite perhaps been challenged by a top side in the table in terms of that. But he's very comfortable, as Patrick points out, you're very comfortable filling big shoes from Jurgen Klopp's.
Well, the first thing that strikes me about him is that he's a fantastic communicator. And he's been able to deal with a number of issues in a very low-maintenance way. The second thing is he hasn't made it all about him. He's come into the club and he's recognised the fact that he is building on the foundations left by him, left to him by Jurgen Klopp, and there are fantastic players at the football club. And some managers, certainly during our 25 years as reporters, we've seen it time and again where they come, the players are not fit enough, the players are not good enough. It's one thing or another, whereas he's come in and he's recognised what he has at his disposal. There's a good piece by Harry Redknapp today saying that he's been impressed because he's come in and done nothing. Now, it's not quite the case that he hasn't done nothing, but what Harry's trying to say is that he hasn't ripped up what didn't need fixing. And I think for that reason, there is that stability about Liverpool that has enabled them to go on this run. He's taken maybe the volume down slightly, whereas they played high-intensity football under Jurgen Klopp. Now it's more forensic, and they're making incisions into defences rather than going in there and blowing the doors off. But certainly as far as he is concerned, he is a fantastic acquisition for the football club and shows that their recruitment isn't just good in relation to players, but in relation to managers, because when he was confirmed as Klopp's successor, there was fascination, and dare I say, 1 or 2 people were underwhelmed by Arne Slot. I think because they didn't know too much about him. But now we do, and everyone is impressed.
Yeah. The papers, I think you've got something in the Telegraph, is that right?
I do, because this is a good piece by, I'm going to say Quiver, but I know that the pronunciation of his first name...
Kevin Kelleher. Yeah.
Kevin.
Okay,
yes. Thank you very much. Kelleher. And he speaks superbly well. In the summer he wanted to go. It's very well documented that he wanted to go, but now look at the headline there. I wanted to leave, now I can give Slot a headache. Now there'll be people who instinctively look at that headline and think, no, Alisson is first choice goalkeeper if he's fit. But Alisson has had his injury problems over the last 18 months or so. So I think Quiven's right. He does have the opportunity to come in. There is an uncertainty about him holding the fort because Liverpool won a trophy. He played in a final for them and helped them to win it. And he is a very, very capable keeper who would, if he were available on the free market, be snapped up by a number of very high-profile clubs. Terrific piece by Chris Bascom where he opens up on a number of things. But essentially, it will be interesting to see how much of a headache he can give Arne Slot over the next few weeks.
Because they've got another keeper coming in, haven't they, next summer anyway? So
Mohamed Ashvili. Yeah, but again, you know, that's another part of why Kelleher can maybe suggest I'm going to, if Alisson, because bear in mind there had been interest from Saudi Arabia in Alisson as well, so there are lots of other factors below the surface. If it is the case that Kelleher feels, I do have the faith of Slot, I do have the faith of the club, and he cements it, at least in the mind of Slot, that there could be a decision to make, then the next 18 months or so will be very interesting.